So abandoning the practices that really hold down the business. What I'm sharing with you maybe can also help a country. There are things you keep doing, hoping to get results, but you actually don't. And you have to be very deliberate, very intentional that you abandon them. You create new systems and processes to respond to customers, because customers, especially in our countries, are young. They are all on phone. So you have to be intentional to do deliberate forgetfulness. Now the third box is where the West beats us. It's called innovation. It's called taking what you have and deliberately disrupting it in order that you can plan for the next 50 years. So you change the delivery and distribution systems. You invest in research. Every business, almost every business I see in the West is using AI these days. I started using ChatGPT about a month or so ago. I didn't know what it meant. Does anyone use ChatGPT in this room? Fantastic, huh? That's because you live in North America. If you tell people about ChatGPT and say, oh, you want to destroy us. It's augmented intelligence. It's ability to do things using technology so that your head can do other tasks. So that third box is really why, for me, I got into this system called government. Disrupt the way you trade, the way you approach markets, the way you deal with standards, the way you comply, the way you respond to customers, the way you track a product from the farm to the market. For if you don't disrupt that, you are not competing. So to answer your question, taking a lot of time, if you give me a microphone, I will teach. So to answer your question directly, yesterday I mapped 8 steps. Those of you who are here, how you get a product from the farm to the final customer. I don't think I should repeat it for those who are not here. But in each of those stages, there's technology, there's aggregation, there's warehousing, there's a lot of paperwork that we are now trying to digitize. And so for me, talking to someone living in the US, what I think you would do to tap into the changes we are putting in the export sector is to work with consortiums. A consortium based on coffee, so you as a deal can help us drive Bugisu AA production in Sironko, in Bulanguli, in the Elgon area, to ensure that we have premium coffee here, but you work with farmers, you work with transporters, you work with UCDA, but you don't do it alone, because it's an ecosystem that does exports. So if I live here and I want to get into coffee, I look for a coffee consortium. They have money, so
let me just press in on that a little bit. So the keywords I'm getting: disruption, intentional forgetfulness. That was very interesting. Yesterday, you also you did a lot of anatomy lessons yesterday, so it made me feel like I've been at the doctor, but which is not good. But
how many people were here yesterday? Because we may be repeating. Oh, there are few. Yeah. Almost the whole room wasn't here. But so you really missed, and we don't have time to. Okay.
But you talk about this one thing, the kidney test.
Yes.
Okay, I thought that was interesting.
Creatinine test.
Yeah, because I've had my kidneys tested a lot lately, and so I perked up on that. Trade has been dominated forever by these huge businesses, and it leaves most of us in this room out. So what we try to do today is present micro business concepts with the theory that we don't have to be left out. So maybe you can remind us of this kidney test, and because we sometimes feel very stuck that the big coffee guy, the big cotton guy, whatever, is going to dominate, and we can never get an inch. So maybe you can remind us of that kidney test and how we can get unstuck and gain better access.
So I'm going to use a whole new approach to this now, because if I go into the ASL and AT tests, I will lose people. So let's just take what I would do it differently. Let's take a business as a human being. So you need 4, and there are doctors here and nutritionists, and I'm not. I'm a farmer. I do nothing else other than farming and selling dairy products. Let's take the business or a country as a human being. So there are 4 things that will give you longevity, capacity to deal with issues of tomorrow. The first is called nutrition. What does a business take in as its skills, as capabilities, as its core assets to ensure that this business really doesn't take in the bad flood? They are prepared people who are not able to compete. So if you put a lot in your stomach that is bad food, we know what that means. And I don't want to get into this area because I
feel like
know.
this is personal, right?
So just like a person, small businesses eat junk in terms of skills, in terms of technology, in terms of how they perform. That's why they're not performing at a super level, and our effort is to help them, first of all, to not die. Because you don't have capital, because you don't have books of accounts, so you cannot partner with, you can't attract capital in the business. The second one for a human being that I know is called exercise. And if you exercise regularly, so for me, even if I have 15 minutes a day, I make sure that I do it. Why? Because when you pass a particular age, so think of a country, think of a business. When you pass a particular age, you need to exercise the heart so you can pump better. But you should also be deliberate about exercising the muscles so you don't have bone atrophy. In business, exercise is ensuring that your systems function, that you're not left behind in terms of technology, that you think of IP when you negotiate capital or partnerships. You don't just take, I don't want to use, there are people from eastern part of the world that sell us plastics and lots of things that we could do, and then we don't sell them anything. So exercise to strengthen the capacity of your body is the same to exercise a business so that it can recreate itself and cease being young and always say potential. A man or woman must arrive. Potentiality is not enough, it should be actualized. The third one, so I've left you correctly, I hope I help you. So the third one that I know is called rest. So you see me here, I have a lot of jet lag. I haven't rested. What happens when we rest is that there is a fluid in our brain cells. It's called the cerebrospinal fluid. It ejects dead waste material. It can only happen when you have 6 to 7 hours of rest. So a business too must say, we worked so hard on this process or this product, it's not gaining traction, rest it. Resting is not failure in business. And failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is staging yourself for tomorrow and not flogging a dead horse. Okay, the final one is called emotional health. Does anyone know the things I'm speaking about? Yeah. You're all in America, so you live this, we don't live it in Uganda. Emotional health is communication in a business. So if you look at what's happening in our country, the focus on negativity that comes out, we spoke about this yesterday. It takes you from the most important things that matter for the country and you waste time doing shallow things. It's a business is like that. You have young people on social media and they say they are creating, often not a good way. So the reason I came with Agnes, where is Agnes? Has she gone? I'm just using her as an example because I see Debbie from tourism. Agnes and Simon are young people who are small businesses, who I know you've worked with Cody very well. And I could come with Alican. Alikan Mukwano is a brother of mine. But Alikan says in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, in Congo, he needs some standards fixed, obviously, because he's got scale. But these young people take a much bigger risk. They go to places where an established business often will not be. They will take small equity and raise money and do these IPs that I'm speaking about. And they are the businesses of tomorrow. I met a Kenyan lady out there who's doing some, I hope one day you bring her in.
Yes, you will come.
So young people are doing things that are not ordinary. And when we say young people will lead tomorrow, tomorrow is shaped today. The decisions of tomorrow, you don't do them tomorrow. You take them today. So these small businesses in the value chain from the farm to an aggregator to a transporter to packaging to a retailer to a distributor, the things I went through yesterday, up to the end consumer, I want them inserted at every level. And we're trying to digitize that whole export process so that you can take these documents and put them on blockchain, and our young people can start to speak AI and start to do these things. So I want to encourage the North Americans, Ugandans in North America to know, we're not sleeping in Uganda. We may be quiet, but we're thinking deeply about the kind of country we should have. So if you think of Passaid, if you allow me just to close with this, on this question. We make interventions on the market level. We say stop blind trade. Every market you go to, do some basic deep stick research. Ensure that you have a trade representative. Ensure that that trade representative has a trade hub. A trade hub is where we gather and have a cup of coffee in the morning or afternoon, but we also have a screen and we can see Ugandan tourism potential and assets. And we can see what Uganda Airlines is doing. And we can bring on the fresh fruits and vegetables and they are served. A trade hub we opened in Serbia. There is a chef, 5-star Michelin chef called Felipe, who held a Ugandan avocado and a Mexican avocado and said, I am 56 years. I've never seen an avocado of this size and this nice. And he held a Ugandan pineapple and a Peruvian pineapple and said, I've never tasted a pineapple this sweet. Where on earth is this country? How will you know that country if you don't work with young people in this house and do something fundamental? So that's just that disruption on market level. But a market demands a standard. When you get a market like the US, they will take you through FDA. You can't get products here, so Asim, I hope you will show us how you did what you did. Yesterday we didn't have time for you. If you don't comply with that standard, you are wasting time. You are getting on aircrafts and hotels, but the market is shut to you. You have to have a regulatory authority on food safety, on plant health, on animal health, animal feeds. And so we're working on these things. If you ask the Honorable Nankabirwa, she knows that the cabinet passed a resolution to set up a food ombudsman, an IGG on food, so that what we eat, we don't just make it for other people, we do it for our own citizens. We stop putting meat by the roadside where tourists are passing. When you have that standard, it will demand a particular infrastructure. Infrastructure is not just roads, it's labs, it's the cost of testing. We are working on those things. Finally, we need the fuel in the engine called export credit funding. So yesterday we made a big announcement here. Those of you who are not here missed. Luckily, I see some people in the audience. We said we are going to raise $350 million to underwrite export orders of companies that are struggling. They have orders, but they can't sell. I am one of those. So the things I'm telling you, I live them, I do them. If you don't know where the shoe hurts, often you shouldn't speak to people. I have an order every month of 1 million liters in our neighborhood. For me to sell 1 million liters every month, I have need for more packaging, more cups. I have equity partners that can no longer keep financing this operation. I can go to Anthony Kituka, he will give me money, but I will not manage the interest at which he gives it to me. He's doing a good job, but it's not significant to deal with his farmer level. He needs help. So we are going to start this process. The government has cleared it, and next time we are here, these small businesses will fund them. Is this helpful? Am I going over and over?
Yeah, so that's actually what I wanted to ask you next, is about this Frontier Fund. So we just heard this idea that Moses has been brainstorming with Jugindos about chili pepper production. Is this project that's going to start with maybe 1,000 pounds of chilies, you know, is he going to be eligible to tap into this fund? Like that kind of micro scale?
So Moses is a bit of a disruptor in a particular way. Yesterday he was avoiding being crude. Crudeness is good sometimes. Tell it as it is. Yes, this will. James Kanja is here. James stand. So James was in Serbia, and what did he find? These are new people, not yesterday. How much is a kilo of chili in Serbia?
60 euros.
60 euros. I don't know how much a kilo is here. So Serbia is a small country, but it sits around at the enclave of 11 others. And how much is the order you have? Sorry, I need to use you as an example.
The orders for Chile, we are now standing at
So 1 million kilos, that's before you think of the US, before you think of Moses. Huh? One country.
Yeah.
So this trade frontier fund will sift through that funds, and we're still making the rule, that's why we came through here to consult. We'll sift through his company and look at his core competencies, look at his, we won't close one eye just because you have an order, because we really need to do this transparently. And the difference is that the speed at which you deliver this money to him, the length of time you give him to return the money, the revolving sales that you are able to see, and the fact of the matter that you will support him in Serbia with a trade hub, because we want to open one in New York also. I'm saying things I shouldn't say until they happen. We want to keep with these exporters so that this fund has R&D as part of it, because our R&D to GDP is 0.01. It's 4% for Korea. In a country that really deals with other markets, it's $75 billion annually is spent in Korea on R&D. We spend, I don't want to cause problems. So we will support him on sourcing, on pack houses, where he does that chili, on standards, and ensure that he returns that money in this particular period, and also other people can use it.
So just to make sure I'm clear, Moses is ineligible, but the rest of the room is eligible. Let me ask one more question. Go on a little bit of a different vein. When we talk about trade, we often use the word competition. And we know that's a real thing in our businesses, and in trade we have to compete. Today, we've tried to focus on conversation. That trade ultimately is a conversation between two or more parties. We exchange goods, but on the basis of a conversation of getting to know each other, what they need, what I have, those sorts of things. You've alluded to it. One of the particular challenges that Ugandans we have in diaspora in getting that Ugandan branded stuff to penetrate is sometimes the conversation is very noisy with bad news. And our clients that we approach I mean, 9 out of 10 of my clients have never heard of Uganda until they meet me. And then they Google it, and the first 10 stories are all negative, you know? So we want to have really good conversations. We want the government to support us, to help us to clean up Google maybe, so we can have some better news. I mean, we won like a bunch of gold medals last week that needs to be on the front of the news. But we also want support and encouragement in having conversations with each other, micro business to micro business. So this is a bit vague, but trade as conversation. I would love to just hear you talk about that, ponder that out loud with us, and where we can go with it.
Conversation between traders or Uganda?
Yes, with all. Yes.
So yesterday we said that a lot of the negativity, and this is a very delicate area, but let me see if I can address it. We said the conversations we have on social media is really what informs decision making against us as business people, as country. Because we are often not cautious what we say about each other. And people pick it as data, as a data set, and they analyze it and they say that country, you should be careful trading with them. So we just didn't know how to attack this. We asked the president on 19th of April to announce a small team composed of ministries of tourism, and I see the honorable here, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Defense, Security, to meet with the private sector people and sort out what you should say when and how on things of a national matter, national nature. Because sometimes the Ministry of Health can announce something that stops tourist arrivals, or that lack of coordination really affects business. But really an announcement by the president does not change our character, our behavior, our attitudes. Yesterday we said we make these very good statements, but statements are almost like how you see a rock or an iceberg. You see the tip of an iceberg, that's a statement, we will achieve this by this time, but below the surface, statements are affected by our attitudes and our behaviors. Often it is us who need to change and say we're acting in the best interest of the country, and the country is above our petty differences. But to deal with this, you go to the root. The root of the iceberg is called where we think. We need to teach people how to think. I told you about 3 boxes. The West lives in the 3rd box, but has not lost the first one. That's why you have 10 of the largest roasters of coffee in only 6 countries, and none of those countries produces coffee. They import 86% of green beans. So if you don't stop the way you think, your behaviors will affect your statements and your communication. So this education about businesses being professional and communicating with each other in a professional manner, institutions of government coordinating on what works. We are introducing something, it's kind of, in the media there is a term they call try a balloon. You throw a stone in the bush to see what comes out. So I have some media people, they know that Baguma is there. So how do I maintain consistency on the market with one brand on exports when there are so many brands in the country? So we coined a term called Uganda Connect. What's connect? You know, when I say, sometimes young people don't say, are you listening? They say, do we connect? To connect is to say, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, and we begin a relationship and we're not scared of each other, and we're here with our grains, with our oils, with our... So these hubs, we call them Uganda Connect hubs. And this hub we opened in Serbia. We are insisting that 13 of our products are displayed, and we don't talk about Endiro as a brand, but Endiro is in there, and you can book a holiday and drink a little coffee there. And you use Uganda Connect to change the conversation about the quality of our products. So I am not able, you know this better than me, Cody. So Cody is one of our trade reps. And I think there's some other things that I shouldn't mention that we're working on. But so he takes beans from Bali and does fantastic coffee. And many of you know him. He has a brand, but he will struggle to deal with the mega brands like Starbucks. But he's decided to keep in that niche. But me who knows that Uganda produces in the last 62 years only 1,500 metric tons of roasted and ground ready to drink coffee. So we produce 8 million bags. We import 99% of what we drink. 80% of this is Nescafe, produced by one company. Just ponder on those statistics. Your strategic resource, you don't drink it. You don't even know where it comes from. It's part of the trouble. So we say, look, how do I move from 1,500 metric tons to at least 10,000? I have to get a brand and keep that brand on the market because it's known. And only ask that brand to process 10% of what it sells in my country. And I'll give that company or that brand incentives. For example, packaging. The cost of packaging, the tax alone in Uganda is 55%. But how do you hope to change the picture if you are importing packaging from China and it's high tax? The cost of those plungers outside you use in homes. So there are many more young people now drinking coffee in Uganda. The age to, do I make sense to you or I'm saying too many things? Okay, so this is the conversation I want UNAA to have. Unfortunately, I'm leaving, but I really think that this is the crux of the matter. Understanding the dynamics of trade and export and creating jobs for young people should keep us awake. Because it's dangerous if we don't think that way. So, 8 to 5 corporate women in Uganda don't want to open those tins of Nescafe and put in cups. They want to go to an office where there's a coffee aroma and a nice coffee plunger in the corner and pour a cup of coffee because you see it happen here. But we continue to let them, I call it cooking coffee, cooking dredges of coffee because Nescafe is the worst coffee. So you need to put 250% tax on that Nescafe and remove tax on coffee plungers, on halas, so that people domestically can start drinking coffee. And then you encourage, thank you, that's encouraging. I mean someone is speaking what I'm saying. That's the president's message. It doesn't populate, but that's what it is. That the problems of tomorrow are not solved tomorrow, they're solved today. We can't keep selling these coffee beans forever. We must have a strategic guerrilla attack on these markets because we don't have enough capacity to do branding like Starbucks. But we can get a smaller brand and put a Uganda Connect logo and put a QR code. And when you go there, you can see the results. You can see where it's produced. And then we can promote local coffee drinking, like the Ethiopians do, and start to really make this product create more jobs. So imagine if this is a conversation on social media when you wake up, not negativity. So what about you saying, I will not send a negative video or make a negative comment? I make a deliberate effort. I'm intentional on being positive, regardless of the circumstances I face. We'll stop negativity and have positive conversations about our businesses and our countries.
With that, thank you very much. Everybody, let's give
So can we thank Cody? He didn't prepare me for this, but Cody, what is commanding? Where's Olivier? So Olivier Kamans is the one helping us to train in some instruments to raise this money. Those of you who are not here yesterday, I hope Alan, call him and we'll announce him here so they can see. If they stop asking me questions, they ask the professionals.
Alan, can you also grab my team, Amaryllis, please?
So as they come, can we have this man show what he has gone through on standards?
We have an issue with the AV, but
Ah.
he can just answer.
But can you talk through it? Just 2 minutes, just talk.
Just 2 minutes.
I don't have gadgets, but I hope you've understood me. So they can understand you too.
Okay, I hope you understand me, so I have to go where?
You take the microphone there where you